Hexagram number 29. Water. Ambition and presumption always lead to danger. Danger in the Ching refers to any emotion that leads to the thought of giving up or to abandoning the steady, slow path of patient perseverance. Danger generally comes from restless discontent that leads to ambition and to a loss of our inner balance. On becoming too ambitious, we then expect that our efforts should generate visible progress. We must be willing to see things through without looking for visible progress. Only a steady, persevering disengagement and inner independence by which we remain true to our higher nature will win in the end. Whether we are trapped in an emotional abyss of despair or in an abysmal situation, this hexagram counsels us to keep still. For any effort to change the situation only makes it worse. For now, it is useless to think of why we are in this situation or of how to get out of it. All energy must be put toward relating properly and silencing inner conflict until we cease thinking of giving up and until the correct remedy shows itself. This hexagram confirms that in spite of appearances, there is a way that leads out of danger and difficulty. But we may not find this way if we remain in an emotional state of mind. When our emotions rule, our reasoning powers are said to be enclosed in the dark. When the soul is locked up within the body, we are not internally free. Danger comes from wanting, from fearing, and from being ambitiously goal-orientated instead of perseveringly path-orientated. When we long for a particular solution or for the comforts of another time or simply for relief, we strive restlessly to bring the unpleasant situation to an end. We abandon the slow, step-by-step work that creates enduring change. When we doubt that by working with the creative and by working with time, we will attain what we seek. Desire to make swift progress is the culprit. Our inferiors resent having to follow what they see as a tedious, dubious process to correct matters. Another culprit, envy, occurs when we listen to our inferiors. Resentment at having to be correct when others do wrong without penalty. Desire and envy occur because at some time in our past we learned to doubt the healing power of truth. We also learned impatience, rejecting the way of the creative to mend things through the vehicle of time. Such thoughts come from our childish inferiors who think only of their fears or desires. They secretly insinuate these fears because they have become convinced that without forcing matters, life will trick them out of happiness. By listening to these ideas, we forget the obvious, that true and enduring happiness can be attained only by establishing the conditions that create it. Because happiness depends to a certain extent on other people's spiritual development, we must give them the space they need to err, that they may gain the insights that lead to growth. So long as we desire personal comforts and are ambitious to make speedy progress, not only will we fail to arouse good in others, but our doubt, fear, and ambition will feed their distrust of us and block the help of the creative. Pressing ahead is a mistake that engages our pride. Pride, in turn, makes it difficult for us to return to the path of humble and patient perseverance. It is important to relinquish our hurt pride and to disengage from looking at the situation and from any feelings of concern, disappointment, or hopelessness that such looking creates. Danger also refers to an inner pressure to do something simply to end the ambiguity of the situation. We should persevere in non-action until this pressure is dispersed and we can regain neutrality and clarity of mind. image of falling into the abyss, filling the low places and passing on, symbolizes the Chinese doctrine of Wu Wei. That means to flow with events and allow time to work rather than resisting it. Through non-resistance and acceptance, we rely on the healing action of nature to resolve dangers. The active water symbolized by Khan represents the most sincere, pure effort we can put forth to do what is right. We need to be aware, however, that when sincere effort fails to produce tangible results, our ego, which measures our effort and is always seeking rewards, enters to demand that we give up fruitless effort. This sort of thinking endangers perseverance, for danger is always incurred from our ego's point of view when we try to do the right thing and fail. If we can persevere through these dangers, we will fill up these holes in our character. The I Ching approach to danger is to be sincere in trying to understand the situation from the cosmic viewpoint. Attaining the cosmic viewpoint corrects our inner attitude. In the cosmic view, we should retreat when the dark force enters and advance when the light force returns. Keeping ourselves detached, we avoid throwing ourselves away or engaging our pride. We remain free to respond to the ebb and flow of the situation without predetermining what to do. We cling to what is relevant and essential. We do not allow ourselves to be turned aside by pacts our ego has exacted, promises to give this thing up if it does not work, or to do thus and thus in this case. Instead, we keep open and allow ourselves to be guided by the requirements of inner truth, to which we keep assiduously tuned. Another danger comes from expectation and presumption. As opposed to keeping an open mind, we are open-minded when we remember that everyone has the potential to to develop his higher nature. It is an arrogant presumption. It is playing God to decide what the future holds and whether people can or will grow. Perseverance is required if we are to keep our minds open in the face of obviously inferior behavior. If, on the other hand, we expect or presume that a person's potential for good will come forward to right matters, we go too far. We can only cling to the idea that he is capable of pulling himself together. Whether or not he develops his cosmic blueprint and fulfills his true nature is entirely up to him. Everyone must prove himself. To be open-minded simply means to be unassuming one way or another. It is one thing to cling to the idea that somehow a person will come through, and another to assume it. Such assumptions give him the mistaken impression that he has no need to develop himself or to correct his mistakes. To the alert person who is neutral in attitude, a difficult, obstreperous, unreasonable, or unjust person will betray himself, regardless of how he may attempt to disguise himself or to flatter his way into acceptance. The alert one should be determined not to be manipulated. Alertness means we do not automatically assume good or bad things about people. Instead, we listen to them. In doing so, we feel their innocence or lack of it. We should inwardly insist that they be trustworthy. If at some former time they have erred in dealing with us, we should be ready to return our trust to them, but only when we feel certain that they are firmly committed to doing what is correct. In doing this, we should hesitantly feel our way and restrict ourselves to problems that directly concern us. We do not interfere in other people's problems. This is the way the cosmos deals with us. It is the way We are meant to deal with others. Whatever we may have done before, the sage welcomes our choice to return to the correct path. Yet he is unwavering in his demands for committed and reliable virtue. Just as we should avoid expecting things of people, we should avoid expecting in the sense of relying on the creative to benefit us. Good luck is the result of a humble and unassuming attitude toward the unknown. The minute we congratulate ourselves on having good luck, it disappears. We may not presume on God, so to speak. Presumption is similar to expecting a gift. Expectation deprives the giver of his joy and of his spontaneous appreciation that makes him wish to share his good fortune with us. When we depend on a situation in a presuming way, we may expect it to fail. Changing line number 1. In the abyss, one falls into the pit, wanting a thing to happen before it is ready to happen, exposes us to the danger of doubt. Even a small doubt may cause us to depart from our path. We should retreat and find peace in acceptance. Changing line number 2. One should strive to attain small things only. This is definitely not the time for big measures. We lack the strength and clarity to overcome the deficiencies of the time. Any effort to extricate ourselves will not work. Therefore, we are counseled to be content with small gains. We receive this line when we seek comprehensive answers in order to drive forward and make sizable gains. Our state of mind is such that even if we possessed such answers, we would not be able to implement them. Therefore, it is best to strive only to let go and allow ourselves to be led. Even striving to let go or to free ourselves of emotions entails considerable effort. Changing line number 3. Abyss on abyss. Every step leads to danger. Ambition, expectation, or feelings of negation have created troublesome responses in others. These troublesome responses cause us to doubt ourselves and the path of docility, creating a pressure to act. This pressure to do something is dangerous. We should return to neutrality and disengagement until we have attained the correct perspective and until the way out of difficulty shows itself. It is necessary to become accustomed to the dangers encountered in waiting. For all creative action is achieved through keeping our inner attitude correct and steady, while the inner attitudes of others are being influenced to grow. Our inner independence and detachment must be maintained. When things get better, we must guard against becoming attached to the luxury of things being better. When things get worse, we must guard against wanting and its consequent pressures, ambition, striving, wandering, and wavering. The chief means of making progress is keeping our heart constantly steady and our inner independence intact. This requires that we keep our inferiors strictly disciplined up to the very cloud heights, as it is put in the 6th line of development, Hexagram number 53. A willing submissiveness to the divine will and acceptance of the unknown empowers inner truth. Detachment requires having a goal, yet not being goal-orientated. Our general purpose remains that of rescuing all as well as any particular ones. It is important to realize that we will never, forgive me, it is important to realize that we will waver. Nevertheless, trying to keep steady will draw the help of the creative. We can rely on the power generated from holding firmly to our principles. Such holding together not only empowers truth, it brings the help of the higher power. This provides the chance happenings that point out the truth as obvious. We become ambitious only when we doubt that this help will come, and when fear invades our serenity. We need to realize that time is the vehicle of the creative, and to reassure ourselves that we have the time to wait. Time is not of the essence. Time is the essence. Changing line number 4. Earthen vessels simply handed in through the window. The sage, knowing that we are endangered by doubt and misunderstanding, comes to our aid. Consequently, we are enlightened by a breakthrough in our understanding. Changing line number 5. The abyss is not filled to overflowing. If the time is not ripe for a thing to happen, it will not happen. Wanting a thing to happen before its time brings the danger of frustration and doubt. Ambition leads to danger. The path of least resistance for now is to retreat from striving. This path is correct and in line with duty. Changing line number 6. Bound with cords and ropes. Even though we understand the correct way, we persist in doing things our way. We allow our ego to lead and thus maintain a wrong attitude. Misfortune comes because we press on, taking matters into our own hands. This line warns of the failure we may expect in maintaining such obstinacy. The remedy is return to the path of perseverance. Danger comes because we fail to understand the paradoxical way the cosmos works. We become frustrated, throw up our hands, and cannot find the way out. We do not realize that life is meant to be a paradoxical, ironical puzzle that can only be solved by following the true nature of the good selfless and sincere. This completes hexagram number 28.